Welcome, everybody, once again to the Sleeping with Sonja podcast. We are thrilled to have in studio with us today, live from Miami,
Yes,
Mr. Kehinde Thomas.
that's right.
Kehinde,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
One of the
Thank you,
most
Sonia.
one of the most interesting parts about you is you have nothing to do with the healthcare space.
Yeah,
And yet I think we as an audience have so much to learn from you and from your story and your experience.
I appreciate that.
So I think to start, I'm going to read a little bit of your bio, and
Okay.
I think the best way to do it justice is for me to really truly read it so that everybody understands where you come from.
Okay.
And so let me get this straight. You're not local from Miami, are you?
No, not really. No,
You're not
no,
local from
this is
Miami.
not local for
So
me.
Kehinde is a twin. His brother Taiwo was first born, and right behind him came Kehinde.
Yeah.
He was born in a small village named Kaba in Nigeria.
Right.
His father died when he was 7 years old and left his mom a widow to raise 8 children by herself. He remembers walking 5 miles barefoot to go to school early in the morning with his brothers and sisters and walking back home. Kehinde was always an intelligent child and remembers studying late at night with candles because there was no light when the sun had got down. He always loved reading, especially the Bible, and thought he may someday be a priest, and even went for several years to study the Catholic seminary.
Yeah.
After being selected as an exchange student to the US, he went to Duquesne University, where he was discovered by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they asked him to join their elite tryouts. He was in the middle of contract negotiations when he got injured. And then he had a pivot.
Yeah.
And he decided to work for the insurance financial industry and worked his way up to become one of the titans in the field.
That's me.
That's you. Simple.
Yeah, that's me.
Easy.
Yes.
No big deal.
That's me.
Wow. Where do we even begin? When you think about where you started and
Right.
where you are now,
Right.
how do you ground yourself?
Well, just to the audience, and Sonia, first of all, let me say this. I don't take my presence very lightly when I go for podcasts like this, which I've been doing a lot lately.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go back historically first,
Sure.
and I think the audience can connect, with this. So our planet is how old? Our planet is 4.5 billion years old. And 4.5 billion, think about it, some, strange freak of a nature, like some pond, the planet collides, and there's a molecular organism. So the birth of life. Okay. Then let's fast forward. Fast forward 4 billion. Let's go to, I believe, about 60 or 600, one of the two, million years ago. What happened? So the first Homo sapiens walked the surface of the earth, in a country called Tanzania, which is East Africa. But I want you to think about the population of humans at that time. I'm going to move that forward to 6 million years ago.
Yeah.
So if I bring it, it's kind of strange. But if you're looking the way in which I'm transitioning this, so again, freak of a nature. Some, like asteroids, came the size of New York, landed on planet Earth and literally wiped out the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And so there were supposedly about 10,000 humans, that survived. But yet, this human that survived, a disease could have wiped them off. Anything could have happened to them. Look at what just happened to COVID recently. COVID literally wiped out millions, from the earth, but it's only 10,000, which is like one street here in Miami.
Right,
The
sure.
size of one street.
Sure.
So I take that to today. Me and you are sitting here, we're talking. The truth about it is this, that Sonia is sitting in front of me, but it's not just Sonia that is sitting in front of me. There is a 70,000 generations of humans that is sitting right in front of me. A collective consciousness of all these transmigrations and evolvement of human beings to who we are today. So I want you to be thinking about this. That when we talk about background, who we are, we tend to want to look at the first degree,
Right.
which is who am I, where am I from, and so on and so forth. But the reality about it is this. we are a collective consciousness, of so many, many, many generations of people before us that in today's world, when I'm talking to someone, I said, you see, have you ever heard of something we call a generational curse?
Yeah.
No? Okay. You heard of genetic mutation? Okay. You hear about all these things? Okay. You are who you are because of the people before you.
That is a fact.
And so, in order for you to be able to go to the next level of your life, not only have you to be conscious, of this information that I'm sharing right now, but they have to say, who am I? To be able to identify you as an individual instead of a collective consciousness of the whole. It's only when you understand this kind of, like narrative that you can begin to separate yourself as an individual
Right.
and begin to think as you. So, having said that, it's a long answer,
No, I mean,
to a very
it's
short, question.
sure. And I love nothing more than diving deep into collective consciousness. It's very
Okay.
much my style. So
Okay,
this
there
is
you
the
go.
perfect,
There you
the
go.
perfect introduction. And
You
it
know.
is true that we are the collective stories of our past.
That is correct. So I see that my background is such that I am very grateful because when I think about, the price that was paid before me, growing up as a kid and watching my dad pass away suddenly, and mom has to raise,
Yeah.
all of us and never went to school.
Right.
So she did it her way, and then a guy like me, like 3 meals a day was a struggle, holding my shoes as a kid. Then to see where we are today financially, multiple seven figures and all kind of stuff that's happened, which we're very grateful to God for that, is a testimony that your environment doesn't have to define you. Your decisions in life, define who you become.
Yes.
That's the way I kind of look at it. So I come from a place of gratitude, which is the term key to life.
Oof. Gratitude is everything. And I had an episode that I recorded with somebody where we discussed, in large part,
Yes.
it's impossible to exist a life with joy that does not also have gratitude. They exist hand in hand.
100%.
And it's almost as though we live in this society where we are constantly bogged down by stress and pressure and noise and news that we forget to exhibit any form of gratitude for even the smallest thing.
That is right.
But the moment that you stop and say, I'm grateful for the air that I breathe, I'm grateful for sitting in this, having this opportunity to share and to speak with somebody, I'm grateful for this moment, everything does shift.
If I can say something about that, think about this for a second, okay? So you work in the medical field. There is a propensity towards, exactitude of science where errors are not allowed to be made.
Oh, yes.
Somebody
Quite literally life or death.
It's correct. So somebody get coded, then what happened? There's got to be investigations. If somebody did something wrong, etc., etc. So, that world is a world of precision.
Yeah.
It's a world of science.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I want you to then imagine, like you exist in that world. But then when you look at life and you look at the three-dimensional man, and then there's a fourth dimension, and then you realize that science is up to a certain extent of human knowledge.
That's a fact.
Then now it goes spiritual now.
That's it.
So to be able to make that transition from science to the spiritual aspect, it requires, especially in the world of social media today, where there's so much noise and your brain is racing, it requires someone that practice meditation, visualization,
1,000%.
imagination. Now, all of this concept plus more to be able to actually quiet down the noise. But then, here's my point. Anyone that goes into this high frequency energy, in the middle of it is gratitude.
It's a fact.
Because in order for you to be able to go to the next level, you have to appreciate the current level. So the idea of I am grateful today is what opened the door for more tomorrow. And I think that it's a complete travesty for so many people because you are always comparing yourself to the next person.
It's true.
So rather than coming from a place of gratitude, you're always coming from a place of insufficiency.
Oh,
So because you
yes.
always say, but I'm not good enough. I
I
don't
think lack mindset
correct.
dominates
Like I
social
don't
media.
look like her, You're tall. I wish I was shorter. You were short. You wish I was tall. I drive this car. I wish I was driving that car. So, I live in this house. I wish I live in this house. So, your mind is constantly comparing yourself to somebody else. So, it never allows you to pause for a moment and be grateful to what you have. So, rather than comparing yourself to the worst so that you can be grateful, you're comparing yourself to the best because society conditions us to what?
Right.
To continue to, it's like a rat race. So because of that, so many people never really get to enjoy this whole concept of gratitude, which is a place of serenity and peace, and
And
reserve a few.
I think that I think it was Deepak Chopra that I read who said that the people who say they don't have time to meditate are the ones who need it the most.
That's correct.
And it was during the height of COVID. And as someone who, as an ICU nurse for 6 years, and then while receiving my doctorate in anesthesia,
Yeah.
it was the height of the pandemic. We were in ground zero area in the United States. We had no idea what was going to happen. And there were unspeakable things that were seen over the course of the next year, 2 years, that made many people question the existence of a faith in God or a higher being. They made people question themselves. They made people question their own decisions. And for me, meditation and mindfulness changed my life. It truly, I was in such a low vibrational space and such a place of survival mode,
Right.
and fear and anxiety, that turning to meditation and mindfulness, and at first saying, I cannot do this. This is stupid. This is wasting my time.
What, the meditation part when you first started?
Yeah. And then finally saying, okay, let it be a guided meditation. And then allowing that to transition to, okay, now I can actually acknowledge that there are things on my mind. But if I allow them to sit with me, it's
Right.
okay. It changed my entire life. And I believe that even just this show is a manifestation of that. Because
Of
when
that
you,
meditation,
when
this is
you
interesting.
truly learn the power of manifesting in your life,
Yes.
you not only attract the people through random ways. I mean, I have no idea. Everyone should know this. We have just met
That's correct.
just today
Yes.
for the first time.
That's correct.
But Kehinde, you had such an inspiring post on your social media that showcased this energy of, it wasn't just financial abundance as this hustle and this grind, but it was also rooted in value.
Right.
And that's something that's so rare, and something that I think people need to also recognize, that you can have a really rich and fruitful and abundant life, but still be very spiritual and open.
100%. This is amazing. Let me just let me say this. You see, first of all, I can only imagine, what you guys went through, especially with ICU, COVID, and nothing was predictable.
Yeah.
So at the time, that was a fear that conquered the nation and conquered the medical field, in fact, the human race, to be quite honest with you,
Yeah, the world.
because the world came to a standstill for that moment. Okay. Just for you to be able to go from beta, which is the logical first level, to go into the world of meditation, first of all, science tells you, like, what are you doing? Because it's almost like you're just laying
Science's
down
job
there.
is to question,
Correct.
right?
Like, what are
Yeah.
you doing? First of all, how long did it take you to even accept the fact? I'm curious, and I'm going to go ahead and
Sure.
give you my opinion.
Sure,
but
sure.
how long did it take you to accept the fact that meditation was a good thing for you? Because after so many times, you're like, I'm just wasting my time. Then eventually you accepted what?
I think what it really came down to was I had gone through so many things. A difficult divorce. My mom was very, very sick and ended up, she passed away shortly after I started
Sorry to hear
anesthesia
that.
in a very
Yeah.
sort of, heartbreaking way.
Yeah.
And for me, it came down to, I don't recognize the person that I am, because I know I am inherently a positive and joyful person.
Got it.
And my own energy went from feeling that light
Yes.
to feeling nothing. And if anyone has ever gone through experiences with situational depression or whatever, if you're a high functioning person,
Yeah.
number one, people don't know.
That's so true.
People don't know.
That's
So
true.
check on everyone.
That is so true.
And number two, when you feel nothing,
Yeah.
I would rather feel like absolute garbage than feel nothing. And I realized that even feeling badly is better than feeling nothing at all.
Not correct, because it's still a feel.
So I had to take those steps. And during the time, it was something that felt so, as someone who was raised by parents who were religious, but
Yeah.
my mom had a very spiritual connection.
Okay.
My mom always felt very connected to the other side. And felt
Gotcha.
very, we grew up with, Sylvia Brown books in the house, and my parents were immigrants from Macedonia
Okay.
who came with nothing. My first language was
From Macedonia?
Yes, from Macedonia. They were
Wow.
from a farm in Macedonia,
Wow.
and they came to the United States.
Yeah.
And, my sister and I learned English from Sesame Street on television. And for us, it was always, you work hard because you have seen the sacrifice that your parents
Gotcha.
have made.
Gotcha. Gotcha. This
And
is
so as you move toward things like a career path,
yes.
you say, I need to do the stable thing.
Okay.
Whereas I always knew the creative and the woo-woo and the spiritual felt very comfortable for
Yeah.
me. The scientific was always very safe.
That is correct, because the guarantee.
It's a guarantee.
Yeah.
And I think people who are in finance, who are in engineering, who are in these spaces, you often feel conflicted when you feel like you have to make a choice.
Okay. By the way, thank you, because this is very, very. Thank you for giving me access, to your brain.
Sure.
Because what you just described right there is to go into a meditative state of mind. People don't wake up and do that.
Yeah.
That normally comes from either inspiration or desperation. And most people would do it out of desperation than inspiration, because when it's an inspired meditation, it's more guided, intentional, and you get there faster. But when it is more of a desperational situation, you kind of like stumble your way into it,
Right.
because you have to do it.
Right.
So what happens is a lot of people will start that, but they will quit. So they wouldn't say to a finish to actually accept it. Okay. There is a book. It's called The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Murphy. And it's an incredible book. I'm an avid reader, and I enjoy reading. And the transformation, of going from a beta state of mind to an alpha state of mind, which is the first level, to the second level. So you have your beta, your alpha. I think you're either delta or theta, or theta or the delta. But as you move from one to the other in a meditative state of mind, is where your power truly exists, which now, the manifestation, everything
have
that you
learned.
already know as this is happening.
I have learned.
One thing, that we do know, is this, that a better-minded person, which is 90% of the world, it's a science-based, logical-based. 1 + 1 = 2. Don't tell me nothing. Okay, cool. But we know that when there are two powers, 1 + 1 is no longer 2, it's 3, because there's a third invisible power that you don't see. That's your meditation. So in the world, of the meditation, is such that the moment you go in there, you begin to have an incredible level of connectedness, not only to who you are, but to a higher frequency, that everything that you want and desire begins to manifest. But let me tell you something that's very powerful. This is very, very powerful. And the audience will appreciate this.
Yeah.
In our lifetime, a lot of people, in making the transition to this order of frequencies, most people stays at the bottom, which is the lowest frequency level, level 1. Those who go to level 2, and then they approach their alpha state, which is normally like before you go to bed at night, or when you wake up in the morning, when you're not fully conscious, but you are like
That state between.
that state in between, which is very powerful state, So you go into that state, and then from there, even if you take your problem, for example, and you dwell on that problem, you start finding solutions to that problem that will just reveal itself to you. Okay. It could come in form of mental imagery. It could come in, even like audio, verbal. It could come in multiple ways to you. But then, as you start making the transition, then you go into another phase that is almost like what we call like a existential phenomenology, where you and the existence of that thing become one and the same. in which case you begin to forecast, almost like, Nostradamus, like you begin to, like you see things before they happen to you.
Right. Premonition almost.
That is correct. But this only is if you took time out to truly practice meditation. Now, here's where meditation, affirmation, visualization, and manifestations happen. We're here now, we're doing the podcast, but you're a nurse. So, but you went through the whole phase, and then somewhere in your meditative state, you were connected to this. And because you were connected to this, and by the way, for the audience too, because you may have something in your mind right now that has been dwelling there. It's every time that subject comes up, you get excited. So that's already a picture, something within you that you're supposed to pursue. But
that is
for
a fact.
whatever
That little
reason,
itch.
it's just
That
it's
little
there.
inkling.
It's there. But you're supposed to pursue it, but you're afraid to pursue it because of environment, people, criticism, whatever the case might be, finance, whatever it is, okay? But the moment that you stay in that state of mind and you keep the frequency high and it remain high, guess what happened? Manifestation have no choice. It's
inevitable.
organic. It's inevitable.
It's inevitable.
But here is the nugget I was trying to say to the group here. Some people go through their entire life, they never really spend time to know why they were born and the purpose. There's no meditation, there's no routine, there's nothing. So therefore, like they say on the street, life be lifing. So life happens to them. So they never. So the entire life, I was born, I'm old, I die. Nothing in between.
That's no way to live.
And that's the end of it.
No
For
way to
some who spend the time doing those things, they're able to then, okay, why am I here? What's my contribution to the universe? And then bam, they go to that route. But at the highest level, it's very rare you see anyone that makes a lot of money, lives a fulfilling life, that doesn't have a routine with their meditation. It's very rarely you meet anyone. It's you wake up in the morning, and for the most part, maybe the first 30 minutes, you meditate, and your mind wander. Then you get up, you exercise, you come back, you do breakfast, you attack your day. But it's like part of that routine.
It is a commonality and a common thread that I'm finding among those who not only have what is considered, I don't know, a traditionally successful life, but also feel rewarded in the work that they do.
There you go.
And there's so much more. It's so much more than simply saying I make a lot of money, because you can make a huge income and be miserable every day of your life.
That's
money
correct.
does not actually bring happiness. It
No.
might bring freedom and access.
Yeah.
But
it only minimizes your number of bad days.
That's a fact.
That's all money will do for you.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
How many of your decisions have been guided by intuition?
That's deep.
Yeah.
That's a deep, either question or comment. I don't know what it is, but that's deep. How many of them have been guided by intuition?
Yeah. I find that the people who seem to sort of nail it know that even if the crowd is telling them no, even if other people are giving them reasons to say, maybe you should hold off, maybe you should pause, maybe you should do the other thing, they follow their gut. And I find something wildly fascinating about the combination of knowing your intuition and your instinct is actually a powerful voice versus listening to the crowd.
I trained on this morning.
No way.
This morning, I
had no idea.
Yes.
This is not plugged.
I trained.
I don't believe you.
I trained. In fact,
this is weird.
Maybe 2 hours before I got it, I trained on this.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, so it is.
And some people recorded me on it. I trained on this. You see, your intuition is your God in you. So when you have it, the only reason we don't pursue it is because of external factors. Because you are afraid of other people judging you. You are afraid, oh my God, what if I do this? What if my money doesn't come? Because you are afraid of maybe there are financial consequences. You are afraid of societal, view of you, and so on and so forth. So even relationship, etc. So it comes, but what do you do with it? You minimize it. All right. the intuition and the God in you, is you were given a specific idea and concept, and it comes to you intuitively. You know what's crazy about it? Sonja, it came to you, not me. So now you're pursuing that.
Isn't it?
But I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But it's given to you. It wasn't given to me.
Right.
I'm only supposed to do what I'm supposed to do, which is what? Take logic and apply logic to it. Because I have not seen it. It wasn't given to me. So then I'm going to give you the reason why it may not make it and why you may not survive or why I think you might survive. So I'm giving you from my own perspective.
Right.
Do you realize that the person that got the intuition that never followed it is their fault? The reason why it's their fault is because that was given to you, not to anyone else. It was revealed to you, wasn't revealed to the universe. So
It's unique to you.
it's unique to you. So if you pursue that, then it's going to manifest against all odds because your DNA is your DNA. It's nobody else's DNA. It was meant to complement your DNA. So in which case, it's yours. So every time we subdue intuition and we, that gut feeling we talk about and we minimizes it, what you're saying is this: I am not deserving of the gift
Oh, that's powerful.
that has been bestowed upon me.
That's powerful.
And then normally it goes to somebody else because it's in perpetual motion. It doesn't stay.
That's powerful. And so, as somebody who has been in healthcare for so many years,
Yeah.
I often tell people, everything I do in the operating room, everything I do is guided by science, and everything I do is guided by hypervigilance,
true.
and everything I do is understanding there's a plan B, C, D, and E.
Yeah.
And yet, if my gut tells me something is wrong,
Always right.
before the numbers even show it,
You know it.
I know it. There's no science, or maybe there is,
Yes.
but there's no explanation that's logical in a textbook
There
that
you go.
says if a nurse tells you to look at something, do it.
Yeah.
That is internal. And by the same token, that inner voice and that inner knowing
Yeah.
doesn't always have to be signs of impending doom or
Correct.
impending trauma.
Correct.
That exists in all of us for the good things and for the nudge. And we get this voice in our head with ideas. If an idea comes to you,
Yeah.
there's a reason.
That is correct.
There's a reason.
That is absolutely correct.
It's not an accident.
This is powerful you're talking about. You see, for the audience, I want you guys to understand something. First of all, this subject matter that Sonja is bringing forward, to this audience right here, if you're listening and you're taking notes, if you're watching this, I would say this is an episode don't watch this, study this. Because the things we're talking about right here could radically change your life. Radically change your life, But one thing I do discover is this. Even when I was broke as a joke,
Yeah.
even when I didn't have $1 to my name, what I realized was this. I always knew that I was going to be okay. Because deep down within me,
Yep.
I just knew it was going to be okay. I didn't know how,
Yep.
but I just knew it was going to be okay. So one thing is that every time, that I disavow the voice, or I ignore the voice, or I minimize the voice, I paid a price for it.
That's it.
But at the time when I was doing it, I didn't know because I let the logical side of my brain kick in, which normally that's a problem for people who are above average in their intelligentsia. They tend to want to rationalize everything. So what happened, they don't let that voice speak to them. They minimize that voice because they live in the world of realism, which means it has to be logical. So the access to a higher power is minimized in that sense. However, what I realized is this. The moment I started listening to the intuition and to the inner voice, quote unquote, it's like I now had access, like an abstract of the heavens.
Yeah.
So now I now have access to a higher power.
Yep.
And so when my intuition says go, I go. When it says stop, I stop against all odds. I'll give you an example. So I did my reels that went viral. That reels over 80 million,
That's incredible.
and it's still going.
Yeah.
And one behind is over 18 million. It's still going.
Yeah.
It just so happened that I pulled up, in front of a dry cleaning shop, and that day I wasn't even gonna go to that place.
Isn't that funny?
I was had no
Isn't
intention
that
at all.
funny? Yeah.
Yes, to a
Yeah,
dry
yeah.
cleaning, no intention.
There's no
So
accidents.
I'm having meetings, so my wife, is with our brokers because I'm in the insurance brokerage firm. So my wife was having a meeting, and it was a Zoom meeting. So I said, hey, babe, I'm going to get on the meeting. I only have 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I pulled up. The interviewer just pulled up and said, hey, excuse me, yeah. Is this your Bentley? And I'm offended. Like,
Yeah.
who are you?
Yeah,
Like
who's
a
this-
random
who's
street
this guy
asking me,
asking me?
like, is this your
What do you
Bentley?
care?
Like, so I'm like, can I help you with something?
Right.
He says to me, he says, can I please interview? I said, no, I'm sorry. I have a meeting, in 5 minutes that I have to be on. He said, oh, it will just be for 5 minutes. Deep down within me, it was like a millisecond. Something says, stop what you're doing.
Yeah.
If I wasn't doing meditations and I was in that world, there's no way in the world because I had 5 minutes. So I said to my wife, I said, hold on a second. Babe, I said, babe, can you do the base checking for me really fast? I said, not a problem. So she got on the base checking. And I said, guys, let's go. I only have a few minutes. The interview took place. No, if 5 minutes end up to be 30 minutes.
Oh, that's incredible.
But I just let go the flow of the energy. Little did I know, that it was opening a completely different avenue.
What an incredible.
Like
It's no accident.
it's like I got people approaching, movies want to come out of
Yeah,
it,
right.
this want to come out of it. I'm here with you right now on
Yeah, of
podcasts.
course.
I've been doing a bunch of podcasts.
And in fact, this is how I encountered you randomly.
Correct.
Through
that
very
same
viral scenario.
That is correct.
And I said, I have no idea who this person is,
Yes.
but I'm incredibly inspired.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
I want to hear more.
Thank you for
And
that.
when you hear people who can showcase evidence of living an intuitive and spiritual life, but doing it in a practical and pragmatic way,
Well put.
you can gain so much from those insights and from those pearls.
Well
And you
put.
can be at any phase in life. And that's the beautiful part about this. You can be rock bottom. I've been rock bottom. We've all had that experience. But you can crawl step by step to get yourself back
That's
because
correct.
your mindset and a growth mindset is literally everything.
Powerful.
It is everything.
Growth mindset.
It is everything.
By the way, you're speaking all my language. So
I mean, again, these are
growth mindset,
But these are-
intuition,
but
meditation.
these are truly the factors that have elevated not only how I view myself and love myself in relation to the rest of the world,
Yes.
but how I love and view others.
Let me, I have to say this. You see, growth, especially when it's a growth mindset, that really caught my attention big time. Because like they always say, a brain is a terrible thing to waste, and that's the power that we have as humans, is this. I'm of a firm opinion, that in life, anyone that refuses, to grow their mind and their brain, etc., I think you're condemned to a certain type of life. And that life is called a life of quiet desperation.
Oh, man.
That's their life.
Yeah.
Because
suffering in silence.
that is correct. You are pretending to be what you're not. You want to give the appearance that you want to give, but in the deepest recesses of your soul, dark at night, by yourself, on the bed, you know who you are.
Yeah.
And it's not a peaceful place to be.
Yeah.
It's a very disturbing life.
And we live a very distracted life on purpose sometimes.
Some of them are unfortunately it's intentional too. It's like a facade. But to take me back to the growth mindset, watch this. So in 1917, a young man was in a war. So he's right there. It's a conflict of a war. He came out of a tunnel without a gun. So when he came out of the tunnel without a gun, he saw the opposing army, you know, and this is World War One, by the way. So he raised his hand and said, "Don't shoot me. I'm not armed." The guy for a second held back, and he wanted to shoot him because again, it's the enemy. So he was going to shoot, but then he decided, you know what? He's not armed. I'm shooting a random stranger. Nah, I'll just let him be. He left, and guess who that young man is? Adolf Hitler. His life was spared. Now, watch this. Watch this. Adolf Hitler took it to mean a sign from God that he was supposed to be killed, but guess what? A random stranger saved his life.
A random act of kindness.
Like save his
imagine
life.
that.
So now watch this. Now, in 1936, so now remember, World War II came about again in 1940 now to 44. So in 1936, Adolf Hitler, because every year he would write a letter to this guy just to thank him for, for sparing his life.
Right.
1936 is getting bigger. It's people begin to know who Adolf Hitler is, he's making the noise and so on and so forth. So in 1936, Adolf Hitler actually Times Magazine of the Year. Something like that. The explosion.
It just blows your mind, yeah.
But what was the first thing Adolf Hitler did? Adolf Hitler commanded before he wreaked havoc to do what? Burn the books.
Yeah.
Why burning the books? Because if I deny you access to power, which is feeding your mind for growth, then what will happen to you? Then I can keep you at a certain level of rationalization, in which case, if I outthink you, if I outlast you, if I outperform you, if I do all of the outs, you don't have a shot against me. So he did that. Why? Because there is a reasonable profit rich people make over the poor because of the fact that if I keep you at a certain mindset, then I can take advantage. So when you say the growth mindset, I just think that if most people understand the power you have, if you decide to devote a reasonable amount of time, even if it's just 10, 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, pick up a book.
It is life-changing.
Read a book.
It is life-changing.
Grow a little bit. That you become such an incredible force, that you will shock yourself. And I think it's a travesty that so many people in life truly don't invest that time to really grow their mind.
It is.
And that's why you caught my attention when you said the growth mindset. I am just...
Education is a privilege. I was raised with that mindset. When you see family members or your legacy before you struggle and work hard and get to a certain place, to be able to have the privilege of picking up a book and reading it, to be able to have a privilege of transporting yourself into a new world, to learn a new thing.
Powerful.
It is a gift. And even to sit and have these conversations, I know for certain that this conversation will inspire other people to pick up some books about vibrational energy, energetics,
100%.
mindset, spirituality, meditation,
100%.
all of these things.
100%.
And for literally the cost of a library card, you can change your life.
You don't even need library nowadays.
You don't even need it. You
for
a Google search.
No one is smart
Right.
anymore since the invention of Google.
That's it.
So
That's it.
today, all you need is your phone.
Right.
Have access to the internet, and now you can self-educate. And I talk about this all the time. We'll go to school, we'll get good college degrees, we get all this other stuff. But the average guy who decides to have a growth mindset will run circles around you.
Facts.
They will eat your lunch like it's
1000%.
nothing. So today is the formal education, which you go to school, they teach us all this beautiful stuff, big theories and so on and so forth. Then you come out, especially in my world of finance and business.
Yep.
So you get all these degrees, you come out. So nobody taught you about budgeting. Nobody told you about all this risk taking. Nobody told you about all those things. You figure this out when you go into the practical world. So you look good on paper, but on the street, the guy who never went to school, who is an entrepreneur, you do deals. He runs circles around you on deals all day long. So what I realize, is that there is a certain level of dichotomy between formal education and growing your mind, like organically growing your mind the system way in which you run out of them, you get out of the matrix and truly grow yourself. 3 questions I ask all the time. Question number 1, who am I? Which most people would never be able to
Right.
answer. That's why biblically, it says, I am who I am. That's what the Bible says. There's a reason for that. So the first question is, who am I? Yeah. The second question is, what's my purpose? And once you know who you are, once you know purpose in this case is connected to your contribution, to humans. For example, look at Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Elon Musk says, I want to be known as a guy that put humans and human species on a different planet. Oh wow! So money is not the biggest thing for him anymore.
Right.
It's graduated mindset, being the richest guy. Right. So it's not driven by money.
So there needs to be a purpose.
That's a purpose. And then the third one is, what's my legacy? Because you're going to come, you're going to aspire. So do we just think about you for 5 seconds? That's your existence.
That's it.
Would a street be named after you?
That's it.
Would the house you live in ever become a museum one day? Would you ever have a holiday simply because you made such a difference? So, who are you?
Yeah.
So we don't think about this kind of stuff because we're so caught up in our day-to-day life that we don't get to. So that's why your show, Sleeping with Sonja, for me, it's very powerful and it's going to radically make a big difference for so many people, because this is questioning the order of the day, It's questioning the opposition's position about life, and it's getting everybody to start thinking organically for themselves, especially with the new world of artificial intelligence anyway. Yeah. So the more scientific we get, guess what happened? The more a show like this will thrive.
I hope so. And I think it's this constant reminder, and it's one that I have, that none of us are promised anything beyond this moment.
That's correct.
We will never, ever, ever know how much time we have left. So if you are waiting, and if you are watching, and if you are hemming and hawing, just do it. Just take the first step. You don't need a timeline. You don't need to know how it's going to happen. You just need to start. And I am so thrilled that somehow the universe brought us together to have this conversation.
Yes.
And where can we find you, Kehinde? Where can we look for you?
Yes, I'm on Instagram.
Okay, great.
So my Instagram is Kehinde. That's KEHINDE 10.
Okay.
So I'm Kehinde 10 on Instagram. I actually go live on Instagram weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay. Oh, fantastic.
For 1 hour. That's how my own contribution to the planet.
Fantastic. So we will make sure that all of your contact information is included.
Absolutely. And then on YouTube also. I'm also on YouTube.
Wonderful.
If you just go in there, Dr. Kehinde Thomas.
Okay.
And you will find me on YouTube.
We will make sure that everyone can find you, and hopefully we'll do a live together as well. I think that'd be
That would be powerful.
a nice conversation for us.
Before we go, I just want to say this for my final thoughts as we wrap up.
Of course.
So this kind of show, I just want to let you know this, that this is a necessary and a needed show for the new world we're approaching, because as we get more scientific, as we get more robotic, and we're having more robots, 10 billion in population, of which they're expecting about 4 billion, to be robots in the next 15 to 20 years. Arts, social science, the world of meditation, imaginations, visualizations, things that robots could not do, that is essentially humans, is going to be needed. And that's where I believe a show like yours is going to be a show that's going to actually impact and change human beings.
Wow.
So I want to applaud you.
I thank you so much
for this endeavor.
I'm so grateful for that. And I hope that everyone who's listening right now stays just as delusional as myself and Kehinde every single day, because delusion is a beautiful thing. It allows us to experience life in such a new way. Thank you all once again for tuning in. Thank you for joining me today. And thank you guys for sleeping with Sonja.